Today on Off Road, we're joined by a visionary who spent his career at the intersection of finance, innovation, and now sustainability. David Bernard is former CEO of Equities.com, where he helped shape one of the most dynamic digital platforms for public companies. Now he's turning his attention to the future of the planet as president of NextGen Bioplastics, a company aiming to revolutionize the way we think about materials, waste, and the role of biodegradable plastics in the global economy. Joining me for this conversation is my co-host and frequent collaborator, Andrea Cataneo, a top-tier securities attorney, producer of Unblinded, and a partner at Callagy Law. Andrea, great to have you here as always.
Wonderful to have you, Frank. And I can't tell you how thrilled I am that David Bernard is here, who we know for so many years at Equities, making such an impact in the capital markets. And I'm delighted about this beautiful transition into something that's really going to help the world. And looking forward to hearing about his passions, his plans, and what's up with NextGen.
Yeah, from capital markets to climate impact, David's journey is a rare blend of Wall Street savvy and purpose-driven leadership. David, a warm welcome to Off Road.
Thank you, Frank and Andrea. I appreciate that.
It's been a while. I remember seeing you at the equity shows back in the early 2000s and whatnot, and it was great. That was an awesome thing you put together.
Yeah, Frank, I
Ahead of the curve.
realize we met when I first got involved with Equities magazine. So it's probably 25 years ago is when we first met.
It goes beyond that. And the guy that owned Equities magazine was Bob Flaherty. And I just have to mention him because he was a mentor through the 80s and 90s and 2000s for me and multiple people. And especially, I was a market maker. So I used to list a lot of companies. And
You were my go-to.
when companies didn't have exposure, we go to Bob. Hey, Bob, write an article, do a research report, go to Equities Magazine, and then Bob would have road shows, and we'd get them all together, and it was the greatest thing. And then,
Family.
but Bob was getting older, and then when David came by, I'm like, wow, this is going to be something. And what Bob didn't have was he didn't have a website, and that's when it all changed. And with the videos and everything else, David really put it together and made it much more than what it was ever, I think at least. And that was a big thing. Now, that was when you first got it. And I remember doing one of the first shows that you did at the Yale Club.
Yeah.
Yep.
Show this to you guys.
It was the Yale Club. And I think I met you in the elevator, Andrea.
Yeah.
In there going to that show.
Yeah.
And
You have a good memory, man.
And the weird thing is that, and I do want to have a little fun note. Now, what's a picture of that?
I don't know if you guys can see this.
Maybe go closer to you. It's too close up. Back it up so it gets clear. No, there's too much glare. Dang.
Yeah.
So tell us what's on the picture.
So first of all, out of everything I've done so far in my life, I apologize. My little dog has to be with me at all times, but
I love it.
she gets very irritated when I don't pay attention to her. But anyway, okay, come here, Stella. Come here, little girl.
Stella.
This is Stella.
All right.
Named after Stella and Streetcar Named Desire, no doubt. Or the beer.
That's where she got her name from. So, Stella, I met Bob Flaherty for the first time. We were talking about me taking over the magazine. He wanted to retire. And quite frankly, the magazine wasn't doing very well at that point. I don't think he had published in almost a year when I met him. And I did some research and I realized that the small cap markets, the micro cap markets, they really didn't have anything out there. There was nothing out there exposing these companies of any consequence. And as good a job as Bob did, I saw a much greater, bigger vision for this publication, as well as the opportunity to really bring eyeballs to the small and micro cap markets. And I'm really proud to say over the next 5 years, we got it up to a monthly magazine. Most people don't realize that, but we did. We went from 4 times a year which is what Bob did. He did one every quarter. There's some background stuff going on from one of you guys. I'm not sure who, but
Not me.
recording I hear. But anyway, we over the next couple of years, we ended up getting it out to a monthly issue. We, of course, went four color throughout. And I always thought that when I look at magazines or I always think of New York City and I think of walking down the street, walking by a newsstand, certain things jump out at you. And I realized that we needed some cover appeal. We needed something on the cover of the magazine to grab someone's attention because, quite frankly, not to disparage Joe Smith from XYZ Microcap, nobody knows him, and he's not cover material. So we got guys, Wall Street luminaries. We got the CEO of NASDAQ was on our cover, the CEO of New York Stock Exchange. I can go on and on, all top-notch people from the financial markets. And then we even went into celebrities a little bit. We had Martha Stewart on our cover. We did that interview the week she got out of prison. And we were the first interview she did when she got out of prison. And I'll tell you something else about Equities Magazine. And most people don't realize this, but I've done the research, I've done the background work. Equities Magazine was the first publication to write about a small home center chain that just started up in Atlanta, Georgia, had done a reverse merger on the OTC, and that company was called Home Depot. And Equities Magazine wrote about it when they went public through a reverse merger, and they were $5 a share. Now, I've stopped keeping track of it, but had you purchased $5,000 worth of that stock when Equities Magazine wrote about it, and a lot of people did, from what I understand, that would be worth many millions of dollars today. I'm really proud of the history of Equities Magazine, and I will say it was probably the most fun that I've ever had in business. I'll give you one example of a really fun day. Frank, I'm not sure if you know this, but we graduated, we did events, we did 4 events a year typically, where we brought public company CEOs in, and we filled the audience up with institutional investors and fund managers and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We started doing them at stock exchanges. We did one at the Old American when that was still around. We did one at the New York, but then our real home was NASDAQ. We used to do them at the market site in Times Square quite regularly. Matter of fact, we'd go from NASDAQ to the LSE in London, and then we would test out different other European markets. The one I loved the most was Frankfurt, but we did them in Italy, we did them in Paris, but for the most part, it was NASDAQ and the LSE. And we had an event where we had Ken Fisher from Fisher Investments as our keynote. We had from Kiss, the rock band Kiss. What's his name? Oh my God.
Gene Simmons. Yes.
Gene Simmons and Bob Greenfield, who was the CEO of NASDAQ. We had the 3 of them each speak independently, but then they got on the stage together and they went back and forth. And
Gene was out of makeup at that point, but he was very into public companies for a while. He was an advisor on a bunch. He was into
I gotta
it.
tell you, Gene's a multi-billionaire today.
Super smart guy. People don't.
He's a
super
businessman.
smart guy.
Absolutely,
Oh, yeah.
absolutely. And if I may just interject here, do you know what you were saying before about the IPO price of Home Depot came out at $12 a share? That investment that you mentioned is worth now $55.1 million. So you were right on that. It'd be worth a lot.
Yeah, I was off on the
$5,000 investment then.
I was off on the issuing price. Now, the people I spoke to were involved originally in actually supplying the shell that they merged into. And well, maybe that was what it was. Maybe it might have been a $5 purchase price to get into the
IPO
shell.
price was $12 a share. They probably re-IPO'd. What they probably did is they reverse merged, maybe into an OTCBB. That's what it was at the time. It was a bulletin board. And then they uplisted and maybe did a listing, and they're calling it an IPO. So that might have been when they got listed on the NASDAQ. But that was 417 shares, 13 stock splits, all before 2000. And that even at that investment, 55.1 million. So imagine if people got in at $5 before that on the bulletin board, which is now the QB. Wow. Anyway, sorry for that interruption. You might be interested. Back over to you.
Equities Magazine really introduced a lot of high flyers over the years, the companies that have gone on to be within the Fortune 500. And that was always our goal. That was our mantra. That was what we focused on. And frankly,
David,
we did a great job. I'm really proud of the job we did.
you were super successful at that. And I wasn't so at the time around 2017, 2018, I was doing my own thing. And I thought you were continuously doing that, but you went from being the CEO of Equities.com, a media powerhouse, to now leading a company revolutionizing plastics.
Yeah, yeah.
What sparked that
So,
drastic pivot?
yeah,
What triggered?
I've always considered myself an environmentalist, meaning my whole life I've recycled, I've done my the best that I can do to contribute my personal space to doing what I can to clean the environment. That's just a thing that my household, my wife, my family, it's something that we all do. We don't throw trash on the street. We separate our plastic from food. We do all this stuff and always have. We separate all of our food waste. It's just something that I've grown up doing. I'm a scuba diver by it's one of the great pleasures of my life is scuba diving, and I'm not an avid diver. I dive every year, but I'm a warm water diver today. I don't go in cold water. But anyway, I was watching a documentary, I don't know, this is about 2.5 years ago approximately. And if I recall correctly, it was James Cameron. It was a Discovery Channel documentary, and it was about the plastic island, if you're not
Oh,
familiar.
yeah.
So out in the middle of the Pacific today, there's an island floating made of plastic. It's in the area, and again, don't hold me to my numbers, but it's around 14 square miles and it's around 12 feet deep. And it's literally plastic waste. And aside from the fact that fish feed off of this, eat plastic, we eat the fish, we eat the plastic. Aside from that, it's headed towards the coast of California and it will reach our coastline eventually. Now, there is a number of groups out there that are focused on trying to clean this up. It's quite an endeavor to do. And matter of fact, James Cameron is one of the guys that's actually focused on trying to do something about this. He is the premier environmentalist and he puts his money where his mouth is. He spends a lot of his own money on coming up with solutions to clean the planet. And his passion, frankly, is the ocean. And you can understand that based on the different documentaries that he's
Sure,
been
yeah.
involved in with the ocean. So when I saw that, I literally got sick to my stomach and I didn't have a solution. I sure looked for solutions. I before next gen bioplastics became an entity, I worked with multiple other bioplastic companies, people that had companies with formulations to develop products, people that had products but they didn't have formula. Anyway, many different companies, and I worked with a lot of them, and I just saw that it's a tough thing to get over. Meaning, our world today, give you an idea, and I'll give you some numbers. These are rough statistics. Approximately 1.4 trillion with a T dollars of plastic products of one type or another are manufactured on an annual basis in the world. The United States, they estimate manufactures approximately over $600 billion a year of plastic.
Wow.
Now, most of this plastic ends up in landfills. Most of this plastic will eventually biodegrade, but it would take, on average now, and everything's a little different, 400-500 years for a plastic water bottle to biodegrade. Think about that for a second.
That's just
Insane.
unbelievable.
And what I also learned, and I had an opportunity to speak with experts from the state of California in the government that are actually focused and responsible for managing this problem and also focused on trying to come up with solutions. California has 81 landfills. And if you go to these landfills, there's all kinds of warning signs. You're entering into a toxic area zone. I forget the exact verbiage, but you're entering into an area with toxic fumes. So what happens when you throw plastic away and it hits a landfill, and people throw the half-eaten hamburger away or the food waste from their dinner, and they throw it in the trash, What happens is it mixes with that plastic. The combination of degrading food and plastic emits a toxic gas. I couldn't tell you exactly what the gas is, but it emits a toxic gas. That gas is deadly. If you go to these landfills, you're going to see everyone wearing these major gas masks. And they should they should probably do more than that to protect themselves. And I'm sure they do a lot of things. But it's a problem. It's killing our planet. It's killing our oceans. And they say the average human, just based on going to the supermarket and buying groceries and bringing home packaged food products and putting them in the refrigerator, they say the average human ingests upwards of a credit card's worth of plastic every month. Now,
Ah.
this is microplastic. There's been articles just these last 2 weeks in the Wall Street Journal. I have a couple, and I'd love to send them. Maybe you can give them to your listeners. But I have the press on this is endless. There's so much out there. But just the last couple of weeks, there were some major articles. You know what? I apologize, guys. I'm going to shut this door and hopefully block her barking at him. She's a very relentless little girl, and
We haven't heard a peep from
Oh,
her, so
really?
don't
Pretty
even
good. I haven't
worry.
heard
Yeah.
anything. Yeah, no.
she's been
that'd be
barking her
great.
brains out. She's
Yeah, she's
barking her
not close
brains out.
enough to the microphone, so no worries
Okay.
at all.
All right, good. Microplastic is in all of us. And they're now coming out with research, and I can send you some of this research. Very credible AMA, very credible resources. Harvard University, Columbia University, University of Toronto. We work with the University of Penn State. So there's a lot of stuff out there that this bioplastic that we as humans are ingesting is creating all kinds of terminal diseases. And if you ever got the test done, I'm sorry to say that we would all, myself included, and all of us on this podcast would learn that we have microplastics in our system.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure.
And
Absolutely.
it's got to change. It's got to change because we're killing the planet and we're killing its inhabitants.
David, for listeners who may not be familiar exactly, what does Next Gen Bioplastics do?
So, Next Gen Bioplastics was formed just recently in February 2025. I met a guy in New York, my partner, who is the CEO of Next Gen Bioplastics. His name is Sohail Sharuz. Sohail and his family have been involved in converting paper to consumer products for 35 years. They've built multiple companies, very successful businesses, and sold these companies one after another. About 3 years ago, he was trying to figure out what he wanted to do with his life, and he had been involved in hemp and realized that hemp is a great ingredient for a lot of things that we're doing on this planet, plastic being one of them. And I'll get into that in a quick second. But I met this guy. He wanted to get into the bioplastic space. We got together. We spent 3 days huddled in a conference, just the two of us. We then took a ride down to Sunbury, Pennsylvania, where he had purchased a building. The building is quite large. We're 375,000 square feet. Sunbury is a very small community, about 10, 11,000 people, rural in Sunbury, Pennsylvania. I know when I go there, I fly to Newark, New Jersey, and then I drive about an hour and a half and I'm there. It's really a beautiful location. We're on 23 acres. We have rail siding. So we have the right factory. We have the right place. It used to be an old textile factory. We cleaned it up. Still, final renovations are going on as we speak. We're strictly doing cosmetic now. We've redone the floors, things like that to get it ready. Also, he started buying equipment for bioplastics. So we are sitting today with upwards of, at cost, $12-15 million worth of equipment. Matter of fact, just this week alone, we had another almost $2 million worth of equipment delivered that's being assembled as we speak to expand our product line. So we're making finished products today. We're using hemp as our main ingredient. We can go upwards of approximately 75% hemp. Now, these products, when you look at these products, when you touch these products, when you use these products, you're not going to think it's any different than a plastic tray or a plastic cup or whatever it may be, whatever the product may be. It looks the same. It feels very similar. An expert can tell the difference, but most people won't even recognize the difference. But our product is 100% biodegradable. And for us, that means if it hits a landfill in less than 36 months, some products are much less, it will start to biodegrade. And over 48 months, it's gone. It's
Wow.
gone. It
Incredible.
the microorganisms within the material actually consume themselves. It's a bizarre concept, but it works.
I love it. And I also like that your initial push here is going to be to like the food service business. The SKUs that we've discussed before are things that are used in all foods, like the utensils, I guess the clamshell containers. You had also mentioned something that sounds fascinating. I didn't realize what the market is for this, but the trays on the back of the seats on the airplanes.
Now, I'll explain that to you. That's not us. That's not us.
Oh, okay.
So let me throw this out to you. So our products are, again, 100% biodegradable, but that's relatively short period of time. Number two, there is zero petroleum in our products. There are no
Awesome.
toxic ingredients in our products. So consequently, when it biodegrades with food waste, it's not going to emit a toxic gas. Our product is compostable, meaning you could take one of our sandwich containers with a half-eaten sandwich, throw it in a compost pile, and forget it. It'll eventually biodegrade and mix with the compost. And again, like I said earlier, we're plant-based. So the majority of our product is manufactured with hemp. What we like about hemp, there's multiple things. Number one, we're in Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania happens to be the number one hemp producing state in the country. There's an overabundance of it. They actually burn off, it grows. You can get 3 crops a year. It grows very quickly. You can get 3 crops a year in Pennsylvania if you have an outdoor farm. And they're burning it now because they can't keep up with the growth production of hemp. So it's local, it's cheap, and it's strong. Hemp is a great ingredient. As for thousands of years, they've been making rope out of hemp.
Yeah,
And it
absolutely.
grows
So,
fast. It
and
used
this
to be
is
a mandatory
industrial.
farm.
This is industrial hemp, not to be confused with hemp that's grown for CBD purposes. So that's us. That's what we do. Right now, we're manufacturing close to 40 different items, and they're all what I call the deli line. If you go into any bodega in New York City that serves hot food or even cold food, salads, whatever, all of the containers they use are products that we are currently manufacturing. We went after food service to begin with because, as you mentioned, we have no, excuse me, I'm detracting here. We have a customer base of approximately 250 customers. Some of these customers are quite large. They're all truckload or more customers. We won't sell anything less than truckload. But we've already received 2 very solid purchase orders. I call them purchase contracts that we will start shipping in October, which will be our physical launch of revenue. We received one from a local distributor who currently imports all his product, does close to over 200 million a year in importing these products. And he's given us an opening order of $30 million. And that is to
Wow.
just get started. Once he can rely on us and count on us for performance, which I promise you he will be able to, because we will perform, he's agreed that he will start turning over all of his business to us. The
Wow.
second order is what Andrea mentioned. We hooked up with a company out of Boston that actually manufactures the backing of airplane seats, train seats. So when you get on, so if you sit on an airplane, unless you're sitting in the very first row, the seat in front of you has a plastic backing with a tray table. They make that component from scratch. Currently, they're using a high density plastic, which you can imagine they should. What we are working with them on is 2 things. Number one, they opened up a consumer products distribution company, particularly what they refer to as a commissary service company in Great Britain. And It's a young division, and what they did is they started sourcing products, and it turns out the products that we're currently manufacturing are the products they want to start with, and they are buying their products currently from a company in Germany. They found out that they could buy from us FOB Sunbury, Pennsylvania, in container loads, ship it to Great Britain, and sell it and buy it much cheaper
Fine.
than they're able to buy product from Germany.
It's
So
incredible.
Let me
we're
ask,
going to be exporting this product. They gave us an opening purchase order of $15 million, and that will also start shipping in October.
And
So,
before you ask your question, Frank, I just wanted to emphasize something else that you didn't mention earlier that I happened to know about and was impressed by. The previous company, Heel and Family, who were in the paper business, who had quite a string of successes and exits, have relationships with pretty sizable clients. And it turns out that these clients translate so beautifully into this business, which is rarely the case in a scenario like this. And would you mind touching upon that a little bit?
yeah,
Because
so
that's another leg up that you have,
I'll,
as far as I see.
I'll keep it very simple. And your 100% Amber base also buys these products. So it's the same buyer who buys the paper towels that buys the bioplastic container. We're very fortunate in that respect. And I will say that the Charouz family has developed very close relationships with a lot of these companies and the people that are running these companies. So we're very excited about that. There's more to come on that note. I don't want to talk about yet because it has not been firmed up, but we are aggressively working with other large companies out there that do hundreds of millions of dollars in plastic packaging that want to convert with us. And we're in the process of negotiating terms and stuff. So we're very confident that we have a solid customer base and we're going to sell everything we can make. We're already making plans to ramp up to 3 shifts. Currently, we're running 1 shift. It's an 8-hour day. And ultimately, what we plan to do is run 22 hours a day, leaving 2 hours for cleanup. So we do a little bit of cleanup in between shifts. But we are definitely, we have the manpower for that. We have the worker base in local that has, we got about 120 plus applications right now for
Fabulous.
factory workers. So we're feeling very confident about that. And look, you know what, Frank? I'm happy that this is my last hurrah. This is my last venture in business for a variety of reasons. As you can see, I'm up there. I've got the white hair too. But my partner, young guy, 40 years old, really smart, really good at what he's doing. And he's going to lead this company over the next many years. The plan down the road is that his children will have an opportunity to run this company one day. And that's what we're planning on. And I'm telling you, we feel good. I feel good. If I could do my little part, yes, this is a business. Yes, we're in this to make money. No question about it. But if we could do a little bit of good at the same time, you know what? I'll feel a little bit better about myself and what I've been able
maybe
to
the
do.
world will be better.
I
You
think,
never
You know,
I
know.
think so.
Frank, if it's that just that much,
Maybe that
I
much.
I feel like I've done my little piece. So
David, thank you for coming on today. Andrea, good to see you again. And
Always great.
folks, we'll see you next time.